Welcome to SDL2 on Xcode tutorial. In this episode, we are going to learn how to load an image from the disk and then put it on the window. You can see the resulting in this episode as such. We put a cute dinosaur on our window. So before we start, let me tell you what we need to include in our project in order to load an image. We are going to need an extension library called SDL image. You can find the development libraries on the official website, but I'm not recommend you to do so. Actually, I would recommend you to build the framework on your own using the Xcode project provided in the source code here. When I use this provided framework, I always goes into some co-signing problem, which I'm not able to solve. But using the self-built framework from the source code, the problem disappear. Okay, you can see that in our project, I have already linked against the SDL2 image framework. And also in the general tab, I have made sure that I embed and sign the SDL2 image framework. That's what we need in terms of framework. And then we also need some images. To do so, I put all the image within the folder called assets. To create a folder like this, all you need to do is to click the project folder and right click Add Files to SDL tutorial. Make sure you click this copy items if needed. Then to create a new folder, you will click a new folder button here. That will bring you to this pop-up where you input the name for the new folder. So I have already have it, so that you can see that this name is already taken. Let me say test and click create and then click add. That will bring to your project a folder called assets test. I don't need this. I just showed you for the tutorial purpose. Now, once you create a folder, you need to include some image or even folders within your assets folder. To do so, right-click this assets folder and then click Add Files to the assets. And then you navigate to your resources and then include them all by clicking this Add button here. Once you click the Add button, these resources or the files will be included in this assets. Now, if you create a folder like this, it will automatically include in your app bundle. You can check the build phrase and then check the copy bundle resources section. Within this section, you can see that we have already included the assets file in this section. So how do we see these bundle resources in our application bundle? We can go to the products and then right-click this SDL or whatever name .app and show in Finder. That will bring you to the app bundle. We continue to right-click and then choose this show package contents. You can see that there's a contents folder within this application bundle. And within this contents folder, we have resources. And that's where we copy our resources to. So you can see here that we have our assets. Okay. And also you can see that the frameworks are all copied to here. You can see all this SDL2 framework we use in this project. Right, that's the setup. That's how to use this SDL2 image framework and also use these assets to load the image and put the image on the window. Now, the first thing we should do is to include the header file into our SDL HTTP file. Today, we're going to use this SDL image.h header file. Next, we need to initialize the SDL2 image system within the constructor. So you can see that in this constructor, we added some code to initialize the SDL2 image library. Here, we set the flag to image init PNG, meaning that we would like to deal with PNG extension image. And you can also notice that I have a function called change working directory. If we go to the definition of this change working directory, it basically changed you can see here the summary. We changed the working directory to contents and resources. Remember that we put all our assets file or asset folder within this application bundle, right? We put it into the application bundle, contents, and resources. That's the reason why we make sure that we change the working directory to contents resources so that we can load the image correctly. Now, to load this image, we create a class called texture. So the texture class is actually a simple wrapper around SDL texture. And it is this SDL texture that we can draw on the window. So let's look at the definition of this texture class. In the private section, we have a vector container called nSplicesheet. We call it SplicesSheet because usually when you're given a set of images, you can see that there are several images for one thing. For example, for that, you can have 8 images for it. For the jump, you have 12 images for jump. All these images are actually, you can draw it one after another to make an animation. Because of that, inside our texture class, we would like to have a container to contain all these images for one set together. I use the name SplicesSheet. I use the convention that if the member is a private member, then I will put a prefix M to indicate that it is a private member. Also, here the width and the height is the size of each SDL texture, and they are private, so they start with M. So let's look at the loading function here. There are 3 loading functions. Today we're going to explain only one of them. So we are going to use this load function to load one texture from one image. In this case, we will need the game engine. The game engine will provide us the renderer we need to load an image. And then we also need to provide the path to the image. Let's look at the definition of this load. You can see here that the load image actually has only 3 lines. The first line is to clear the memory claimed by possibly previous texture. And then we load the texture using the private function load image. And then we just put this texture into our SplicesSheet, the vector container. That's it. The hard work are done in this load image function. Let's go to there. So in this load image function, it takes also 2 arguments, the game engine and also the image path. Within the SDL2 image library, all are C functions. So we need to have the C version of the string called char start, the pointer to a C style string. And then to load the image, we use the image load. This image load function returns something called the SDL surface. This is not what we want yet. We do some error check. If the surface is null, then we say there's something wrong and drop down the error message into the engine error message and then return. If it is there's nothing wrong, then we are going to create the texture we need from this surface using the SDL create texture from surface function. It takes 2 arguments, a renderer and the surface input. And if the function returns successfully, we'll get the desired texture we need. If not, we do some error checking and drag down the error message here again. Once we have our texture, we're going to set the width and height to be the width and the height of the surface. And then we free the surface because we are no longer needed. And then return the texture we need. This code here is the typical procedure to load an image from the disk, given the image path and also the renderer. In here, if you forget about the arrow checking, the most important part is the image load, where we load an image from the path given. And then another important function is called SDL create texture from surface, where we convert the surface into texture we need. And inside this function, we need a renderer. That's the reason why we actually put this game engine here, because within the game engine, we have the renderer. Let's see how we use this texture class to draw the dinosaur on the window. Remember, this is our resulting window. Let's go to the main function. Inside the main function, we change the game engine class to episode 5 and also the title to episode 5. In the definition of the episode 5, we see that episode 5 is a subclass of game engine. We are going to override two functions, the init function and the renderer. Inside the init function, we are going to load the dinosaur image. And also in the render function, we are going to render the texture on the window. Let's look at the implementation of init. Once again, we will call the parent's init function to create the window first, and then we load the image using this load function. Let's look at the summary of this function again. We load one texture from an image, and here the first argument is the game engine. So episode 5 is a subclass of game engine. We can put in this to indicate that we will put in this instance, the game engine instance, into here. And then the following argument is the path to the dinosaur we like. You can see here that we use the relative path. So we know that we have already changed the working directory to content resources. And then within the resources, we have a folder called assets. And within the folder assets, we have a folder called dino, which will include all the picture to the dinosaurs. And inside this dino folder, there was an image called idle1 png. So that is the path to the resource we need. And we use the texture.load function to load it into the mTexture variable. And then we return the indicator whether or not it is successfully. Okay, so that is the first part, loading part. So how to draw this texture on the window? And that comes to the SDL render copy function. So in the render function, we first make it into a white background as usual. And then we use the SDL render copy function to copy the texture to the renderer. So you can see that here, the SDL renderer, the render copy function takes 4 arguments, the renderer, and then the texture. We use get SDL texture function to get the texture by index. The default is 0, meaning that we would like to take the first SDL texture inside the mTexture. And then the last 2 arguments actually control how you would like to render this texture. The first null pointer here, if you look at it, it's actually represent the source rectangle. If you use it now, that means I would like to draw the whole texture. But for some reason, if you would like to draw only part of your texture, and that is the argument you would like to control which part you would like to draw. And then the last argument is the destination rectangle. It is where you would like to put your texture on the window. You can actually put it in the center of the window, or you can put it anywhere you like using this destination rectangle. When we use null, that means we would like to use the whole window or the rendering target. Let me do some twisting here to see how I control it. For example, the fourth argument is actually enable us to scale the texture. Let me do so. Say, let me create a rectangle like this. Let me set it to be all 0, say. And then I would like to get the size of my original texture by doing texture, get size. And I would like to put the width up into here and then put the height into my rect.h. That's how I get the width and height. Once I do so, I can actually replace this one by the address of the rectangle. If we click it and run it, I don't think there was anything changed. You can see that actually there was something changed because you can see now the texture is take only the width, the original width and height of the texture. It won't expand to the whole window. So what if I would like to shrink the texture? Say I would like to shrink the width into half. Also, I would like to shrink the height into half. Then you can see a smaller texture shown on the window. Okay, you can see it is smaller. And you can even enlarge it doing so. But our window is too small to show the whole picture. You can see maybe only part of it. See, you can see only part of this dinosaur because the window is too small. You can also control the, say, the text, the part that you would like to draw on the window using the third argument. So let me do a quick example by creating another rectangle. Say, let me do origin equals to 0, 0, 0. And say I would like to draw only a square, the upper top square of the original texture, 100 by 100. Then I will put this here. Then I set it to be the origin rectangle and see what happens. I don't have it because so let me think. Is it too small? Yeah, it is too small because you can see that in the original texture, the 100 and 100 part is actually nothing here. So that's the reason why we do not see anything if I put 100 and 100. And if I put 200 and 200, the let me go to the picture here. So if I draw 200 and 200, we can actually draw a little bit of this. I can actually draw another part by moving the rectangle. Say, let me go to the episode 5. Say, if I put it to be start with 100 and 100, then I actually draw another part of the dinosaur. See, so I draw another part of the dinosaur. So this two argument is quite useful when you try to customize the region of the texture you would like to draw, and also the position of the texture you would like to put on the window. For example, I can put the rectangle in 200 and 100. That will change the position where you render the texture. So you can see that I move the texture here, and that would give us some flexibility to control where we would like to put the texture. You should experiment with this function and get used to it. That's the point of this episode. Thank you for watching.